That looks good.
All right. Saved. Or it should be. All right. So, let's get started at part 2.
And this is part 2.
Where do we start?
Maybe we can go back to the original subject and
What's media?
What is art?
Oh dear.
yeah, whatever you must. I want to avoid that whole thing. But equal access. I think that's
a complicated term.
Yeah.
Nina brought up the issue of professional artist, and she says it was rare in the history of art, the concept of professional artist. I don't know, maybe that's a starting point. Otherwise we have...
So the artist as a professional is rare, or is new?
the idea of professional artist was very rare in history of art. That's what she said.
Okay. So what is new is that you can now make a living off of it, or that is a thing that you can do. Your profession can be artist.
But yeah, there have always been musicians and painters that were living out of that. Like, always. I don't know.
But comparatively few then. And then for most it would have been a hobby. And it's definitely true that you don't have to be a very famous artist to make a living off of it. So there's probably now a whole long tail of people who at first were just hobbyists, but now can actually transition into making money off of it and living off of it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on... I mean, of course, like in the past, like if you wanted to have music at home, before radio, you needed to have someone at home who could play an instrument.
That's true.
Oh, you played it yourself?
So in that sense, back then, like, the technology was much more democratized, because everyone needed to have someone close who could actually play. And radio sort of killed that partly, not completely, but the need was much smaller. And I guess, yeah, before radio you also had, like, if a cafe wanted to have music, they also needed to hire some musicians to come and play some tunes. So I guess in that sense the market was a lot larger.
Did they play a lot of their own work, or were they just performing artists? Because these days I do think there's a lot more room for you to be an autonomous artist.
I'm sure there was a lot of improvising going on.
Yeah, I think
Could also be, yeah.
it's probably could have been a mix of like traditional songs, but then everyone, of course, giving their own interpretation. And some people being apt at sort of writing new songs, writing a new song for a special occasion, maybe taking old melodies, changing them a little so the words would fit. And I mean, it's actually, if you go even further back before printing, like the only way to transport like songs was by going to another town and learn how to play them and then take them on to another town.
It was like a master and apprentice kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you basically
situation.
went to some other place to meet with a musician there and like, oh, what can you play? Oh, cool. How do you play that? Oh, you made this weird instrument that kind of looks like my guitar, but
or you changed a string, or you changed the tuning. That was like big thing then to change. You changed the tuning.
So, yeah, I guess in that sense, like radio, especially when it became more 'cause radio initially was also a very democratic thing where everyone could send and everyone could receive, but then that was regulated to become like one big sender,
Lots of receivers.
lots of receivers. It's kind of weird because it's much easier to build a transmitter than a receiver.
Mm.
We're sidetracking. Where was I going?
But in principle, isn't that the same kind of with today, despite the technology and the diffusion and
Yeah,
the ease?
I mean, you still see like nowadays that you have like these big corporations who try to make it as unidirectional as possible. You can only buy apps from one store.
Yeah.
You can't buy them anywhere else.
They still have that
But-
broadcast nature.
But on the other hand, you see,
Uh,
it's so much easier now to go on the internet and start your own, in a sense.
Yeah, as long as we keep fighting to keep it like that. I mean, there's a lot of petitions or a lot of regulation that big corporations want to put through. Corporations like Apple, Google, some others that try to limit like the kind of services you can get through your internet, which is quite dangerous
Yes.
for sort of open communication and privacy and tons of other stuff.
And it's also, I think, related to who gets the money from the government for art projects, like who gets the scholarships and who gets the funding. That's also some sort of control, like who makes the art and who doesn't, who gets the Concertgebouw and who doesn't. Like,
We've had a discussion about that 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Funding.
so it's another form of
Yeah, I mean,
control.
there's
Like what is valuable, what is not, who is important, who is not.
Yeah, but that is also, in a sense, like if you look at funding is being given by the government, and government is being chosen by the people. So in a sense,
So you think?
well, so you hope.
But then the people on the advisory boards are not chosen by the people, so
yeah.
There are groups of specialists.
yeah.
Appointed.
But I mean, there is a certain technocracy going on there.
Mhm.
Using technocracy as expertism. So I mean, if it comes to funding, I don't think the only way of funding should be from a governmental body.
If we can at least keep the internet neutral, then we always have a fair playing ground.
Yeah.
Well, as long as people have access to the internet, because like not everyone has access. Well, we live in a country that everyone has a smartphone and they can go online.
I don't have a smartphone.
Me neither. But I mean, we
You
all
can go
sort of
online.
yeah. You can go online somehow. It's easy. It's very easy. You do it every day. But that's not the case in all cultures, I think.
And I mean, there was another thing you said about equal access to tools. I think, in a sense of yes, everyone can theoretically get to them, but whether they actually have access to them is also an intellectual thing, in a sense.
Like to get.
'Cause I rented a room from someone for a while, and he really loved music, like this kind of music. It's really my kind, but he was really enthusiastic about that. And he was using programs to get all this music into his computer, but he had no idea like how that works, like what was actually behind that. So even though he was using these tools, I don't think he had really access to what these tools are. Like,
No, but that's again like most of these
It's-
tools don't really show what's happening. They just show a GUI that you can interact with to make it do what you want it to do. But you don't, you never see what's behind the GUI.
Which is important. You need that kind of abstraction to make things usable in the first place.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I don't think it's a bad thing that
No, but I
a
mean,
patron doesn't know how the BitTorrent protocol works.
yeah, no, but I mean, it's like, what does equal access mean? I mean, there's a lot of digitization going on for all kinds of things that people are obliged to do within a country, but not everyone is able to use a computer or.
So you need a certain level of education or understanding in order to be able to use what is available to you.
Yeah. Not everyone likes to do that. Likes to work with a computer.
So a free internet could still be in danger if not everybody knows enough about how the internet works.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah, I mean, that's another
It is kind of weird.
thing that's going on right now about the really current news is that Minister of Justice wants to legalize that police can just break into your computer.
Yeah.
Which is like
Guilty until proven innocent kind of stuff.
kind of really problematic.
But it's also kind of strange that the internet has shaped Western civilization for quite some years now. And I have the feeling that a lot of people just know it as this place they can go to, click on websites, and it works. Just works. And what's behind that? Like, why does it work? What kind of what are the protocols for that, and what's the history of it? It's I think a lot of people have no idea.
I think a lot of people are clueless in the same way about our highway systems.
Yeah.
I do not know who designed those, who created those, who maintains those. I just drive over them. So is that bad as long as some people do know this stuff so that the infrastructure stays intact?
Well, I mean, with the internet, the problem right now is that the people who come up with legislation for it have no clue about it.
Yes, there it becomes a real issue.
That's a real issue. I guess similar things work with highways, but with highways
It's less complex.
it's less complex. You want it to go from A to B, and you want to have a certain amount of cars that can go over it within a certain amount of time, and not.
But now
Then
I'm
it's
thinking
congestion.
somebody who is really into the details of how a road system works, he would probably be screaming out loud right now, it's not that simple! You're missing everything! You don't see it, it's so complex!
Actually, that's goes directly back to a comment my brother made a while ago. It was also like, yeah, when they say stuff about information technology, it's like, oh my god, they have no clue. And he's wondering, like, when their economists sit at home and they're like, oh my god, they have no clue. Yeah, I mean that is a problem. At least if they are not willing to listen to advice from experts that have also from experts of different backgrounds, because I mean you can have someone who knows a lot about environmental issues in the oil industry, and someone who knows a lot about environmental issues in the oil industry and how to cover them up. You want both standpoints.
I'm sort of thinking about the analogy. if you really want to make use of roads in the Netherlands, you'll have to get your driver's license, which is basically a course into, okay, so these are roads.
And
It's
this,
a driver's license. Is that where you're going?
Well, there isn't anything similar to the internet. I mean, you just go on.
Neither is there to the supermarket. I think the driver's license is there so you don't accidentally kill each other.
yeah, it's sort of a training. You learn the rules so that it flows smoothly.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
no one
but-
does whatever they want.
Also, like supermarkets, like the first time you come there, you get this sort of introduction by your parents usually. Like,
So
You
you're
go with
introduced
them.
to the protocol before you can use it.
yeah, but
they are
usually
things-
kids are nowadays, well, maybe not nowadays, but at the start of the internet, kids were doing more with the internet than their parents. So also that sort of introduction was missing. That's probably will be remedied in a generation, but it's really just a sort of mystical. I think for a lot of people, it's this mystical piece of technology that's just there, and
Yeah, I think people that are children now, they grow with the internet as we grew with roads and supermarkets. It's
Mhm.
something that you grow into. It's already there, so you learn how it works from a young age. So you don't really question it. It's like
Yeah.
this object outside that you learn how to behave with it.
I think in 20 years we'll grow up with something like the internet or whatever will be then, like we grow up with language now. It will be
Mm.
that essential. And
Mm.
I certainly don't question language all that much. I just use it. It's there. It's
Mm.
not really going to go away because everybody is using this technology.
Mm.
Um,
so you're being taught language. You're not being taught internet use. You're not
but
being
I'm not
taught,
just
like-
being taught language. I'm learning language. I mostly learn language just by doing, not because somebody in the classroom teaches me it.
Well, that's because you had the back training a long time ago to give you the tools to do that.
Like from birth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're immersed in language from the moment you're born, so it's sort of you grow into it.
Like
Yes, but it's not like from birth someone was actively teaching me language. It just you explore it and you learn it that way.
Well, you get introduced to it. Like there's a good reason why parents do the baby talk stuff with their kids. It's the first steps. And I'm sort of thinking of how this whole discussion still pins in with the original.
It doesn't.
No, it sort of does in the sense that being a specialist or an authority on highways is different from being a specialist on art or on making music.
Well,
It's much more easy to question what is good, what is valuable, what is in
Well, I guess we could sort of take it in a broader sense that one of the things that an artist should do is sort of reflect on society and criticize it. And sort of make people aware of what these things mean, and especially also new things that are emerging and sort of consolidating, making people aware of these things, sort of making sure that they keep thinking about these things. I guess in the same way where a piece of literature will probably set you to think about language.
But isn't that a very modern view of art? Where art as a mirror becomes a thing? I think that's very, very much from the last 200 years. Whereas you had plenty of art before that was just meant to be nice.
No,
Yeah,
no. I
no.
think it's. So I think if you go further back there was always a certain kind of ritualistic component to it, which actually brings an artist to a similar kind of role as a priest, which is also about reflecting about your position in society and society itself. So I don't think that's something new.
Okay. But it's certainly not the only thing that you can do with a piece of art. Oh, we're getting into that discussion. Terribly sorry.
I'm sorry, is this working? Because I'm not getting any messages.
No, do we have viewers?
We have 3. Say something.
Yeah,
Can you hear us?
Put anything in the chat, please. Help us out of our misery.
Yeah. It's like there was this constant flow of messages before, and now I get
Yeah,
nothing.
Pinar left.
Yeah.
That explains it.
Damn it.
And Mark is slow cooking, so.
Oh, yeah. Is it working? Are we back
Is it
on?
at all? Perhaps type something in the chat.
So I typed something and that worked.
He said saved. Oh, we're saved.
Oh yeah, we're back on.
Are you guys getting all this?
We're talking about art
We
and
still have
stuff.
we still have like 3 viewers. So
Yeah, but maybe they just have the computer on
And they went to
Actually,
the shower or
Just
oh,
something.
yeah, we're in a different channel, of course. Damn it. We'll
maybe
see.
just type something just to see whether they're there. Hey, let us know whether you can hear us and see us, and
Oh my god.
we want a sign of life there.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking like this sort of awareness thing, something that I personally think is quite essential to really becoming like a great artist. Any great artist that I can think of really fast has had put in the hours to really master something or really go deep into something and really understand something. And so basically it gets back to that the mystifying thing. There's something mystifying or demystifying. And then with the way that like these apps and stuff are presented, it sort of says that you don't need to know about it, but its background.
So,
And
to
like,
draw an analogy, it's kind of like old school world exploration, where you're not a great explorer if you go around the corner of the street and discover a new street, because everybody's been there already. You're a great explorer if you discover America and bring America home to the people and go, oh, there's this entire continent that you didn't know about, but I found it.
yeah. Yeah, it's like it's
And
like
there's gold. And there's gold.
there's people
There's gold.
slave
Lots of
ships.
it.
Yes.
I mean, you shouldn't come back and say, well, it's kind of, I don't know, the people are unfriendly, it's kind of far away,
And
not
it's a
worth the
desert.
effort,
Yeah.
it's not worth the
There's-
effort, don't do it.
That's the marketing
but
thing
it's-
again.
Yeah, I mean, if I just came back and said
It's-
something like that there.
I guess I'm more referring to the ideological image that you might have of it, where you discover this entire new place with people that are kind of like yourself, but completely different in another way, and there's strange new plants, and there's...
Yeah, but what would be the way to, like, for instance, if we were the people who could design the new apps and design the new tools that, but the customer, yeah, we can. That's why it's interesting to pose. If we would design something like that, how would we go about it? Like, how easy or difficult would we make certain features? How will we make something that's like has the Apple one button approach where just hit this and it will turn out great, or will we really tailor something that is just challenging enough, or that maybe even adjusts itself to a user, where it finds out at which level it is, and then from that point gives enough challenge to grow into a program and to really get somewhere. I would love to have a program for me that is like really high level, and then whenever I'm getting to a point where I'm like, okay, this isn't working for me, I want more control, that I just can click and just go to like the deeper level, okay, and then work on that level, and oh shit, I'm getting stuck here again. I want to look at this specific thing and then open that and then get into a code world maybe.
Oh, good software is designed that way, and so I'm hoping for the you get Logic that they do it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, if that would be there, I would personally be quite pleased. But I have the feeling that that it's going towards the sort of brick wall thing. That oh well, you want this. Yeah, you're on your own. Just and yeah, perhaps that's something that I'm sort of afraid of. So that when people hit that brick wall, that what will they do? Will they switch to a different tool, or do you just think, okay, well?
So a design guideline for whatever software package that we would like to use would be: don't be shallow. Have multiple layers that. If you're new to it, you can just start at the top layer and have the essentials, but then dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper as you get more familiar and as you get more demanding.
Yeah, but no, indeed.
Mark points out that this is like Ableton Max for Live, and now Gen something.
Yeah.
It's like that is.
Oh, well, yeah, indeed. And I think that's a pretty like sort of promising approach. Where you can actually.
But it seems you're ready for Linux. Huh?
Yeah, yeah, you are.
I'm getting quite fed up with Mac, but I'm also quite fed up with Windows. So.
But there's, as a tool designer, as an instrument builder, there's only a certain level of depth that you can give it, which you need to be conscious of. There's a limit to what you can make your tool do. You have to. In the end, just say, look, this is what it does, and this is what it just doesn't do. If you want that, you need a different tool. That will always be the case.
It's also a matter of what you want it to do. It's like, as a composer for myself, I make scores for improvisation, and there is like a limit how much freedom you can give to the score, which is it's very difficult to define. It depends on the people that are going to perform it. It depends on their training, on what you want to say, blah blah blah. So you cannot make it too open or too closed. It's like this kind of. And again, as a designer of scores, I need to think what amount of information do I need to put in it to make it work in a specific way, and then I have to think. But first, I have to think on what I want to see in the end, and work backwards from that to see how deep I can go with it.
It's quite interesting what you say that. So you.
He's cutting you off.
But you're basically Taylor making.
No. He. It's just that about Ableton Max for Live.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
But maybe something flipped, yeah.
But you're basically tailoring your score to a specific thing.
It always depends on the ensemble, the user, in a sense. But the difference is that I'm always there to make those adjustments. It's not like this software that is released to like 1 million people and they can do whatever they want with it. As the maker of the score, I'm usually there to fine tune it depending on what its use is going to be.
I think that
But
that is an angle right there for software, that it can read what you're doing and figure out where you're trying to go and help you explore its possibility space instead of you just having to bang your head against the wall until you find what you're looking for.
well, I mean, that's most of the software I make is kind of tailoring it to what people want. I mean, that's also the big market for open source software, is custom made software.
But it's also really nice that with open source software is that you can edit the source. So if you get to a point where you're like, I wanted to do this, you can, if you have the skills, of course, open it up and go a level deeper and see if you can find your list there.
Well, and another like strong, I mean, this goes a bit more to software evangelism. But one like very fundamental thing that Linux does is that it makes a lot of like small little tools that do very very specific things, but you can use them all together. Like in the Linux audio software, there are a lot of like different tools. Like one is great for mastering, putting these things on. You have excellent audio editors. You have effect racks, and there's a basic infrastructure to link all these things together. So you're not dependent on one monolithic tool
it's not
that's
this huge,
supposed to do everything. You can actually do something, like even from SuperCLUD I can say, okay, you use SuperCLUD, then I route it through, I don't know, this weird effect that only this particular program does. Then I mix it with some other drum sequencing software, and then I send it to the output and I record it in my multi-track editor.
In that sense, you compose your own environment.
So, I mean, that's kind of the strength that it doesn't want to have one tool that does all of them. The idea is having many tools that do a lot of various things that you can now do.
Yeah, but the cool thing is that Linux also has the sort of framework to make that work.
Yeah.
Which is really nice because
I think we have the answer to the original question right here. It's like the question like about artistic quality in a world where everyone can build stuff. It's right here. It's like as long as people have this kind of conversations about the details of their practice, I don't think we have to worry about artistic quality.
As long as
because no amateur will sit down to learn Linux and do this multi-modular kind of setup to create the perfect sound.
There's quite a few amateurs who in the Linux audio world who actually, I don't know, I don't read the Linux audio user list so closely anymore, but there's quite a few where they're like, oh, I want to set up this computer system for our local school to, for the kids to make music. And they want to do it using Linux to give them access to that.
Mark commented on your auto-adjusting software comment. He says that there are a lot of bad examples of auto-adjusting software. Just think about words clippy.
Yeah, that's not really the direction I was trying to go in. Doing that right is hard.
It's really hard.
And you also have the filter bubble where you have lots of software that is trying to figure out what you like, and it's trying to suggest more stuff that is exactly like the stuff that you already like. And in that sense, it's not actually helping you to explore anything to further depths or further breadth. It's keeping you in that same space. So what I would like is a piece of software that goes further than that and actually tempts me into exploring stuff that I wouldn't be tempted to on my own.
You never use this. Use this.
Yes. Or maybe it just goes and uses it and and shows me like, see, this is what happens if you use this.
But
And you go, oh yeah.
But that's how a good teacher would
Yes,
work.
exactly. I want software that is a good teacher.
But it's so hard to make like tailor-made. I mean, to make software that can make that kind of fine judgment and decisions.
Yeah, but
for
isn't that also like the way a lot of games are also sort of set up?
Good games try to do that. Yes.
Like to have this sort of tutorial-ish like introduction thing.
Well, there's actually this. There's
Tutorials are bad.
But the
a
game.
friend of mine, Alberto de Campos, also a supercliderist. He wrote this function called Oracle, which basically it picks like a random set of UGNs, some operators, a couple of other things, so with which you can then make something. So that's really is like, yeah, just throws a couple of things of you that are in the software that you maybe never used, and sort of invites you to make like a sound with those elements, which is, I guess, the feature that you.
Yeah,
kind of
that's a
looking
decent
for.
start.
I did try to make this into a live coding.
You did that at the Linux audio conference.
Yeah, that was the attempt to give people a certain amount of time to. Because I was asked to do like competitive live coding, and I was like, I don't like this competition element.
How does that work? I'm sorry, I'm so curious.
Competitive
Competitive live coding.
Yeah,
It's where you crash each other's computer on the network.
I believe the concept is like two people get 6 minutes at the same time to make something.
No.
Or
The way I always done it is like
I,
one person gets 6 minutes to make something. Afterwards, the program crashes. Then somebody else gets 6 minutes. And then his program crashes,
It's an arena.
and it's like a battle.
And who did the more interesting thing?
Okay.
is-
Yeah,
is the
and then
question
you
at
get
the end.
this applause meter thing going.
yeah.
And then
So what
the
I
winner
came
gets
up
cake.
with was kind of a more Greek approach, the Olympic approach,
everybody's a winner.
where participation would be more important.
And no one has
than
money.
winning. And I also threw in this Oracle thing, which fitted with the theme.
Tim Blackmon just brought the noise, right?
well, one of the things was that whatever code you were trying out, other people would see, so they could modify it again, and then be quicker with a final version or something. It was kind of rough. Made very harsh noises, which was probably due to some of the participants. I think people enjoyed it to some extent. I don't remember.
It was really loud.
Yeah, well, I had to write this filter to quiet down Tim's noise. I think we drifted off again.
Yeah. I want software that sparks my curiosity and actively tries to do so, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess, yeah, the software needs to sort of nicely misunderstand your intentions and
That's an interesting way of putting it. Yeah.
Nicely
throw
misunderstood.
new things at you. That's another thing, and there's a lot of research into artificial intelligence. But maybe the key to that is actually artificial silliness.
Yeah, that could also work. A certain
The
element of
bottle is
randomness.
empty, people.
I would be curious. I don't know if we can bring it back to education. This whole thing, how to ensure quality through education, through educating the people who use our
And one of the
products or work.
Well, I think, I guess one of the things of education is maybe also kind of education of the people who select works or that are chosen for things. It's like even like sort of in the I guess in the business surrounding arts, there are quite a few people who actually have no clue how all the stuff is actually made and what like the specific features are. I heard of one example where I don't know, an artist was using some Max Jitter thing, which was actually pretty much one of the examples. I mean, it looked nice, and I mean, I couldn't I don't use Max MSP Jitter stuff, but that is kind of dubious if that then gets chosen as like, oh, this is an excellent example. We should play this at our thing.
Yeah, that feels like
so-
cheating.
And I've been on another. At some point, I was on a jury of a video festival, and it was kind of. I mean, the other people on the jury were coming like from quite different backgrounds. Like some really from analog film or whatever that's called, like the real thing. Some more from digital backgrounds. And there was one piece where I was like, yeah, okay, that's a nice idea, but like I knew that with a tool like Max MSP Jitter, it was not that hard to do. But to the other people on the jury, it was like, oh wow, because with traditional like video editing things, it would be impossible to do.
Yeah, but then you should get to a point where it's not about the actual visual output, but also like, okay, who's the artist and what is he trying to portray? How well does he or she portray it? And I mean, if
but
Because in that case, it's mostly just the software itself that did the actual work.
well, I don't know what software it was actually made with. I have no idea.
But the point you're trying to make is
that
that
was not information that we got as a jury, like how it was made.
Maybe this was a guy that used old school software to do in a really laborious way.
wow, yeah.
This thing that was really easy to do with a new piece of software.
yeah, it's like really easy in Jitter, and that guy like, I was working on assembly for years. Finally got it.
I'm sorry. The point you're trying to make is that if the jury was more educated in
Well,
that kind
it's sort of like it's something to be wary of, also.
informed rather
Yeah,
than
they should be informed of
Yeah.
the possibilities.
I would see that as their
capability-
part of
yeah.
their duty, part
Yeah.
of their function.
I mean,
But that's really difficult, eh? To
That's-
keep up with all
Yeah.
the new stuff.
well, I mean, they should at least be educated to such an extent that they can distinguish like hype from artistic quality. Like they can see through how something is made and recognize like the artistic concept and what the work actually wants to say.
Or at least be-
like see through the wow effect.
But there's also an issue of who selected that jury. I mean, someone invited those people to be there, and maybe that person should be more aware of who these people are and what.
Well, I mean, what was interesting with that jury was that the people were so varied that we actually couldn't come to an agreement.
That's a good thing.
That was good. But yeah, I think that it is an important issue to.
But also, it isn't only like you don't have to be an expert on the field, but you have to be aware of knowing how to get knowledge on it. if you have doubts somewhere, like, okay, this looks really nice, but you have to be at least knowledgeable enough to know where to look. Like, okay, it's something like this. Probably within a few Google searches, you can get to, okay, this isn't so spectacular. It's just
Yeah. That's one thing I find strange about jury processes. From what I've seen in various competitions and stuff like that, is that juries, they're very busy people because they're most likely people from related fields and they're professionals and they have lots to do. So they tend to rush through the jury work as fast as they possibly can, and they don't take the time to really research the piece.
And it is really hard.
It is really hard. I mean, if you're doing a competition and there's 10 jurors and there's 700 entries, no matter what kind of work it is, that'll take a lot of your time, and you probably won't take the trouble of Google searching every technique used in every composition.
No, in that sense, it is good that there is a jury consisting of several people who have their own criteria through which they pre-select stuff.
Yeah, that in the end is what you do. You just go with what you know.
But in the end,
there are other aspects that people take into account.
But in the end, a video is a video. It's like you're gonna judge it as a moving image that tells a story or not. You're not gonna see in which software it was made or.
But it shouldn't matter also.
It's like if it's a good piece of video art,
think
then it
upfront-
shouldn't.
Yeah.
I think there should be a distinction made clear up front in whatever competition you're running. Look, we're judging only the end product, or we're judging the end product and the process. I think
And it's like
that
putting a
you're
restriction,
owing
like
people that
you're allowed to
distinction.
use only that
Yeah.
software
Yes.
and that technique.
Because then you don't go into the competition as a participant with false pretenses, focusing by mistake on a really interesting process, where the end product may be not all that interesting, and losing to somebody who uses various plugins to do something that is visually very interesting, but as a process isn't all that much.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The process is of course really important for the artist itself, but in the end, for an audience, it is about
What you see.
what you experience.
Well, then at least say that somewhere up front. Look, we don't care about how you made this. We care about what you've made. I don't see that happen a lot, at least.
Well,
You can go even further with that, saying, look, we don't care what your intention with this was. We only care about the effect that it evokes in us, which might be something completely different than you intended.
But earlier we sort of said that the more you expose the process, the more value the work acquires.
I do still think that.
So in this case of the video competition, maybe it's really important to expose if you did it with, stop animation, or if you did it with, I don't know, a generator. Or
well, I don't know. If you, okay. I guess if you make that process apparent, I think that's also an artistic decision to do that. Because then it becomes part of what you are giving to people.
But also it becomes part of the narrative at some point. And yeah, well, as soon as that happens, of course you can talk about it if it's necessary for the thing you want to convey.
Yeah, but I think in any case it is a very important part of how you present the work, and that is also an artistic choice to present it in the way you do.
I think some people will be able to say some things about the process and some others won't, I guess. Even if you ask them, like, describe the process you followed to make this piece, someone will make, like, I don't know, a full page of a story, and some other will be like, oh, I use the software, and that's it.
Then I think at least it's important that there's a clear communication between jurors and the artists about both what the juries expect and what they'll be paying attention to, and the artist on whether the process is important and whether that should be taken into consideration. And as long as there's a consensus between the two parties on this, it's perfectly fine. But too many times I see this completely going wrong, where artists think they are misrepresented, misunderstood, and didn't get the attention they felt the piece deserved because they misinterpreted the judge's intentions. And vice versa, that happens as well.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, it's complicated. I mean, I also have some issues with where they require or that they standardize on video documentation of works, and like I have any other kind of documentation of this project, be it text, photos, sound samples, but not video. So not a video person.
Yeah, that it's strange to make it a requirement as such.
Yeah, and for the piece, its video was not like was not a medium where it would be transported.
So suddenly you have to make this whole making of documentary.
Well, I ended up writing a script with which I had a lot of fun. And there's quite a few of the pieces I made which you can't document with video because they're, well, one of them it's just too damn dark inside. There's like in over the course of like 10-15 minutes there's maybe 5 seconds of light inside the space.
And it's tactile.
And it's tactile. So sound doesn't even work either as a medium. So it's like, yeah, it's not something you can document with means that.
Pinar and I have the exact same problem with Insta Live, which is just, we really tried to capture some stuff on video, and we got like at least 5 seconds of it that's usable. And it doesn't really tell what the installation is about. It just shows like the shiny light, which is nice. But that's it's a real problem. Like to.
But now we've transitioned from making the process and building a piece visible to transferring the piece to other media so that people can experience it without actually being there. Which is a different thing.
Yeah, no.
It's the wine.
What time is it?
It's 20 past 10.
Yeah.
20 past 10.
It's about time to start considering going back to the station and grabbing a train for me. Perhaps with a cigarette before that.
Should we wrap it up then?
Yeah. Perhaps.
Yeah, I think we.
Do they have to say anything? Are they still there?
Would you like to share anything with us?
Final words.
Any final words?
Final words, Mark.
Yeah.
Are you slow cooking?
Are you still slow?
How's the food?
I'm slow eating now.
That's a healthy way to eat. Slow eat.
He started his 4-hour process of eating.
So maybe from you guys, any last words? Should we, if you want to make like a last statement about
John, what did you mean?
Oh well, I
Do
think
you mean
that
it like this?
I think the premise was interesting enough for an hour-long discussion or hours-long discussion. So
I think sort of a red herring throughout this conversation the entire night has been the issue of curiosity. And it comes up in many different places, whether software is deep enough or too shallow to inspire curiosity in somebody to invite them to dive deeper and explore more and grow their ability to navigate huge spaces and thus become a better artist, or whether software can help you to do that, or
should it,
or whether you as an artist yourself can spark curiosity in other people about the stuff that you're making, which is marketing basically. And well, that's it.
No, for me, there's no worry about losing or fighting for artistic quality in a world of gadgets and diffused creativity, because you can get out their original content, and I don't think I don't feel threatened by this democratization of creative tools or something. It's what you do with those tools that matters, and some people are more curious to explore, and others are just happy with the surface.
Mark says his food was awesome.
The food was awesome. Slow eating indeed. Nice disgusting. Thanks all.
you really say disgusting.
No, nice disgusting.
All right.
Man, this puts some pressure on you to also provide final words.
No, only if you want.
Well, I had some thoughts. Actually, your point about curiosity, which I guess is set against the kind of wow effect of media hype, which is not about curiosity at all.
It's about making a blast.
Maybe
Fireworks.
a shallow sense of curiosity.
Just curious enough to buy the app.
But not.
Or curiosity and being curious about the wrong thing.
Yeah, I mean it's the same like, I don't know, why they put half-naked women on posters. To sell something.
To sell something.
Usually doesn't spark curiosity, no.
No. Entices you to remember the brand.
Yes.
Yeah, I was kind of like happy to hear, or happy to be reminded of the whole idea that people really want to get into becoming a better artist or developing themselves, that they'll eventually just go through the muck and get to a place where they can express themselves. I think that's the way to end on a positive note.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I think that will always happen. If people are interested enough, they'll find ways to express.
I don't think we'll ever get to the situation where we're in a brave new world where everybody just passively consumes and is totally regulated by Big Brother.
Hope not.
To the squads, everyone.
All right, thanks everybody.
So,
Yeah, that's it.
Let's wrap it.
Bye. Thank you for joining us for this 2 night session.
Thank you for another Soundlinks report.